as well, because if you pair it with that Clefairy that it so loves to be paired with, you're only relying on the Porygon Z as the damage output. But then if that damage output gets reduced too much, you really won't be able to make use of the full potential of the Porygon Z.
Yeah, and I don't think we saw a ghost type, so there's not going to be a Pokemon where it will be able to like force those max strikes to be immune. But straight off the bat, we are going to be seeing the Duraludon and Grimmsnarl coming out from Adam's side, whilst the notorious Clefairy and Porygon Z do come out for Flavio's side.
Yeah, very classic leads with the Porygon Z and the Clefairy coming out here. But you do see the Grimmsnarl on Adam's side of the field, definitely threatening something like that light screen that it so often loves to go for. And the Duraludon, a really good pick here against the Porygon Z and Clefairy as well, being able to be resistant to that max strike that could come out from the Porygon Z and threaten a very good amount of damage onto the Clefairy as well, threatening it with its Steel-type moves. So a very nice lead here coming out from Adam's side against this Porygon Z and the Clefairy here. And we'll have to see if the Duraludon's holding something like the Assault Vest as well to further reduce the damage coming out from the special side. Because if it's not carrying that Assault Vest, Porygon Z can still do a very respectable amount of damage to that Duraludon.
Yeah, 100%. And talking about huge amounts of damage, that's probably what we're in for right now, as we do see that Porygon Z go for that notorious Dynamax. It is going to be going ahead, getting this huge, very intimidating form, especially because it is a shiny Porygon Z at that. But we're probably going to be seeing a Dynamax from the Duraludon on Adam's side. He is going to be wanting to take advantage. Duraludon is one of those Pokemon, it could either have Life Orb or it could even have Assault Vest, as we do see a Dynamax, the original Dynamax, no G-Max here. And Grimmsnarl, on the other hand, it could be trying to go for maybe a setup of screens, maybe some fake tears as well to want to try to guarantee some damage. But before that being said, we're going to see the helping hand from the Clefairy onto the Porygon Z, wanting the maximum amount of damage to try to go through that light screen that the Grimmsnarl did just set up on Adam's side, as we are going to be seeing that max strike from the Porygon Z, wanting to target the Grimmsnarl and nearly picking up the KO, but just barely missing, as it is going to be reducing. Oh, actually, pardon me, it did actually pick up the KO. I'm sorry, Porygon Z, please don't hurt me. It was able to go and pick up that KO, drop the Duraludon's speed by one stage, as the Duraludon, on the other hand, goes for Max Darkness into the Porygon Z, wanting to bring the special defense of both the Porygon Z and the Clefairy down to be able to deal even more damage in the following turns.
You don't need to care about any screens being set up if you have that helping hand as well. Definitely being able to let that Porygon Z easily pick up the KO on the Grimmsnarl. But now the Arcanine is going to be coming in here, usually carrying something like that Snarl, and will outspeed the Porygon Z as well, so would be able to get that Snarl off into the Porygon Z as well. And with that light screen as well that came out from the Grimmsnarl, I would really be able to put a stop to that Porygon Z. The Duraludon doesn't really have to care about the Clefairy at all. With the Stalwart's ability, it's able to ignore any redirection coming out. So the Max Darkness, definitely a safe move coming out from the Duraludon here. Didn't need to worry about the Follow Me. Reducing the special defense of the Porygon Z, maybe putting the Clefairy into a Max Steel Spike range as well, but also reducing the special defense from the Porygon Z.
And we're going to see a helping hand from the Clefairy, but a Bulldoze from the Arcanine, being able to proc that weakness policy on the Duraludon for Adam's side, being able to deal even more damage. It feels like this might have been a strategic plan that he had set up from turn 1 going into turn 2, but before that, we are going to be seeing that helping hand powered Max Strike being more than enough once again to absolutely delete one of Adam's Pokemon, being the Arcanine in turn 2. So Flavio starting to pick off Adam's Pokemon turn by turn from what it seems, as Max Steel Spike comes out and in return is more than enough itself to pick up that KO on that very pesky and dominating Porygon Z. Being able to have that +2 weakness policy as well in combination with the Porygon Z being at -1 special defense kind of negates that friend guard from what it seems in Adam's favor.
He had the weakness policy boost and that max darkness drop as well, so a huge amount of damage coming up from the Duraludon. All those moves you haven't really seen on Arcanine since back in 2017. It was reasonably common back then, but almost non-existent in this VGC 20 format until today, it seems, and very effective in activating the weakness policy on the Duraludon. It doesn't really care about the speed drops because it's being max striked down with its speed as well, so it's going to be slow regardless, and the Clefairy doesn't matter about its speed too much either. Corviknight going to be paired up with the Clefairy now. We'll have to see if the Duraludon is carrying that Thunderbolts to be able to have access to the Max Lightning. Otherwise, it won't be able to threaten this Corviknight too much. We've seen that it is carrying the Dark Pulse to get the Max Darkness as well. And then you have to decide really if you're going to be carrying Thunderbolt or Protect. So may not have room for that move on the Duraludon. And if it doesn't, this Corviknight is looking in a pretty good position against the Togekiss and the Duraludon. But then it still has to be wary of that Max Lightning that could come out. Even with the Friend Guard, now that the weakness policy has boosted up the Duraludon's attack even further, it's going to be doing a huge amount of damage regardless. And if it doesn't carry that Thunderbolt, it will still easily be able to take out that Clefairy with a Max Steel Spike.
And going into turn 3, we're going to be seeing the Clefairy yet again go for that helping hand strategy onto the Corviknight to try to help for its Iron Head, which it's targeting the Togekiss with. But we actually saw Babiri Berry reveal from the Togekiss itself, being able to take that very, very well. And then in return, we're going to be seeing the Heat Wave come out from the Togekiss. Deals good amounts of damage, actually, onto the Corviknight. No critical hits there, so might not be a critical crit kiss, namely dub, as we do see that Max Steel Spike actually coming out, dealing so much damage onto that Corviknight, which of course does resist. Let's not forget, it's a steel type of its own before having to succumb back to its original form and get rid of a waste, should I say, its Dynamax turns.
Well, that was me saying that you needed Max Lightning to do a huge amount of damage to Corviknight, but Max Steel Spike seemed to be enough here, doing a huge amount to that Corviknight, bringing it very, very low. The very, very means that the Togekiss is still reasonably healthy, and it would need another helping hand to help this Iron Head KO this Togekiss.
Yeah, as we are seeing come out right now, but no, there's not going to be any Togekiss going down during this turn because it's going to go for that Protect, and the Iron Head will be basically nulled in the process of that Protect, as the Flash Cannon does come out from the Duraludon and does guarantee that KO with a critical hit, which we definitely know that it wasn't important in that case. And just allowing Flavio to have to bring in his last Pokemon against Adam's very bulky, very beefy Duraludon, very strong hitting one as well at that.
It's going to be that single strike Urshifu as well, which is not something you want to be facing down a Togekiss with. Very good against the Duraludon, being able to threaten with some big close combats. But then the Duraludon has also gone for that Max Steel Spike as well to increase its defenses, so may be able to survive that close combat. And you still have to be wary of the Follow Me from the Togekiss as well, if you wanted to be going for that. But the Togekiss could also just go on the offensive with a Dazzling Gleam, bypass any Follow Me's that could come out from the Clefairy, and do a huge amount of damage to that Quad Weak Urshifu.
Yeah, we're going to see Helping Hand, I believe, for the 4th turn or 5th in a row. That's all that this Clefairy has been doing, just trying to give an assisting hand onto its ally, the Urshifu, as Follow Me comes out from the Togekiss this turn round. The Wicked Blow will be coming out, and I'm very curious to see what kind of damage. Nearly picks up the KO, of course, assisted with a critical hit and the Helping Hand onto that Togekiss, but not quite able to do the trick, as the Flash Cannon will be coming out from the Duraludon and nearly picking off that Urshifu. Of course, it could be running the Focus Sash, but at this point, we still don't know yet.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting endgame now, because the Urshifu would be in range of anything that the Duraludon would want to go for, and Clefairy usually doesn't carry any offensive moves itself and can't redirect the Duraludon's attacks away from the Urshifu. Togekiss being able to survive that Helping Hand Wicked Blow means that it can redirect one more turn, and that's all the amount of turns that the Duraludon would need to be able to KO this Urshifu. Even if it went for a Detect and the Clefairy went on the offensive, even then, it usually doesn't carry a move that does any damage, really, and probably wouldn't be able to KO the Togekiss. So it's a very, very awkward position for Flavio.
And this Clefairy just keeps on assisting its allies with yet another helping hand. The Wicked Blow will be coming out once again from the Urshifu. It will be actually targeting the Duraludon because there's no Follow Me. Just misses out from the KO, but we will be seeing the Dazzling Gleam from Adam's Togekiss, just knowing that right now he needs to just get some damage onto Flavio's Pokemon because it doesn't matter. The Urshifu is at the point where it's not going to be able to do much, and we see the Flash Cannon from the Duraludon being able to pick off the Clefairy and give Adam the game one of this, let's just say, a bit hyper-offensive game.
Yeah, the weakness policy coming out from the Duraludon definitely meant that huge damage was coming out from both sides. The Porygon Z was able to take 2 quick knockouts in its turns of Dynamax with the helping hands from the Clefairy as well, but that Bulldoze on the Duraludon, something that we don't really see too often, but it's really being beneficial for Adam here. Able to pick up the knockout on that Porygon Z, not letting it fire off one more Max Strike. If it was able to go for one more helping hand Max Strike into that Togekiss, even through Protect, it would have done enough that the Urshifu in the endgame would have been able to get that KO with the helping hand Wicked Blow, and then probably be able to beat that Duraludon. So Flavio definitely needs to find a way through this Duraludon, and that was the Urshifu, but then when the Urshifu hit the field, it was just paired next to that Togekiss and wasn't able to hit that Duraludon really effectively without the fear of Follow Me.
Yeah, because if you noted, we initially said before actually obviously seeing game one that Adam has more of the defensive team in comparison to Flavio, but we actually saw the reverse there. We saw this very cool Bulldoze strategy coming out from him, not caring as much about the speed because, like you said, the Duraludon was kind of left to its own devices. It was just doing its thing in its own corner, slowly winning the game for Adam, whilst Flavio wasn't able to pick it off because of that stalwart ability. It doesn't care about ally switches, it doesn't care about follow me's. It goes to the target, it inputs the attack towards. So being able to get rid of it seems to be key here. And then you have Adam going for that Grimmsnarl light screen in turn one, as we saw in game one. So being able to kind of try to make it an Assault Vest variant whilst also having a weakness policy proc being able to be taken advantage of. So if you were Flavio right now, Jamie, what would you feel that you would try to lead?
Well, the Clefairy was great in getting past that light screen, able to let the Porygon Z get the 2 KOs with the Max Strike, but when the Clefairy is facing down that Duraludon is effectively facing one Pokemon because it just doesn't have to care about the Clefairy at all because of its stalwart ability. So maybe Flavio should maybe leave that Clefairy on the bench this time. He doesn't need to go for a helping hand to boost the damage output from his turn. He can still go for a Max Strike and another offensive move with the other Pokemon as well. And that means that the Duraludon won't feel safe just targeting that non-Clefairy slot, like the Porygon Z, because it was able to just go for a very safe Max Darkness in front of a Follow Me Fairy type because of its ability, and then put the Porygon Z in range of its boosted Max Whirlwind in the end. So, I don't think we should be seeing Clefairy coming up from Flavio's side. The helping hands were great, but just being able to ignore it with Duraludon may be too detrimental for him.
Yeah, we're going to see Adam go for the Duraludon and Togekiss this turn around, as Flavio's going to change it up as well with that Corviknight and Urshifu as a lead. So they're both recognizing, I feel, with the leads that they've led with, that Duraludon is the big MVP and that it needs to be either protected on Adam's side or taken down on Flavio's.
And the Togekiss is in reasonable position here, as we've seen that it is the Babiri Berry on the Togekiss as well. So would be able to survive any kind of double up with the Iron Head and the Wicked Blow as well. So would just be able to fire off a Dazzling Gleam if it wanted to be able to bring this Urshifu down to its Focus Sash. The Duraludon is still threatened by the close combat, but then you always have to be wary of the Follow Me coming up from the Togekiss as well. So it is quite an awkward mind game whether the Togekiss wants to go on that offensive with the Dazzling Gleam to hit the Urshifu, but then that leaves the Duraludon open to a potential close combat.
No, exactly. And we're actually going to see the Dynamax come out from Adam's side first. It will be looking to be that Duraludon, which it could just go ahead and start boosting up its defense. But no, actually, it's not gonna be the Duraludon this turn around. Adam really wanting to change it up. He decides to Dynamax the Togekiss instead, maybe trying to get either max Airstreams or max Flares and maybe get rid of that Corviknight, as we are going to be seeing the Wicked Blow come out from the Urshifu. It moves first, it goes into the Duraludon, wanting to try to get rid of it as soon as possible. Isn't able to do so, as we are going to be seeing the Taunt come out from the Corviknight into the Togekiss, maybe expecting to follow me. And we're going to be seeing after that the Flash Cannon into the Urshifu, quite not being able to pick up the KO. But talking about KOs, that Max Flare is more than enough, thanks to a critical hit perhaps from the Togekiss to absolutely get rid of that Corviknight on Flavio's side. So many things happening during this turn 1 of game 2. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, the Taunt being completely useless there on the Dynamax Togekiss. Opting for Max Flare instead, being able to take out the Corviknight, but able to allow for Flavio to get this switch into the Porygon Z, and didn't go for something like a Max Airstream to increase his speed. So the Urshifu and the Porygon Z should still be moving first for Flavio's side. And now he can still make use of his Porygon Z's Dynamax very effectively. The Duraludon isn't protected by any Follow Me's anymore. The Urshifu would be able to KO it with another Wicked Blow. And then the Porygon Z would be able to follow it with a Max Strike. But even if the Togekiss now goes for a Max Airstream, would KO the Urshifu, but still wouldn't be able to put itself faster than the Porygon Z after a Max Strike would come out from it.
Yeah, and talking about max strikes, I feel like you're right, Jamie. That's what we're about to witness as Flavio goes ahead and decides to Dynamax his Porygon Z, saying, now it's time for the real damage to come out. You're not choosing for the Duraludon to Dynamax, which was able to do really well. You've gone for Togekiss. I'm about to deal some huge amounts of damage and get some speed control going. As we're going to be seeing the Urshifu go ahead and go for that Wicked Blow. It will be more than enough to pick up the KO onto this Duraludon, given that it did more than half during the first turn, as we see the Duraludon going down on Adam's side. And the Max Strike coming up next into the Togekiss slot, dealing huge amounts of damage, nearly half or about half of its HP in Dynamax form, which means that might have been a roll if there's no Dynamax on the Togekiss, meaning this is quite a bulky Togekiss. And the Max Star Fall in retaliation does come out and go onto that Urshifu slot, rendering it useless for the remainder of game 2, picking up that KO whilst being able to set up the messy terrain. Maybe it could be beneficial, but regardless, we're going to be seeing Porygon Z going ahead and being able to dominate speed-wise.
Yeah, so Politoed's going to be coming in for Flavio's side, and Arcanine's going to be coming in for Adam's side as well. And could have access to that Snarl still. We saw that the Max Strike just wasn't enough to get a 2-hit knockout on the Togekiss. And with another Max Strike, the Politoed could be outspeeding this Togekiss here and just do that a little bit extra damage needed to pick up the KO. But then if the Arcanine is able to get a Snarl off this turn, Togekiss may be able to survive the double up of the Max Strike and whatever mortar move the Politoed would want to follow up with. And Arcanine still doesn't like facing down the Politoed, even though it could have potential to Snarl it. It would still take a huge amount of damage from any water-type moves that would come out in the range. So even though Flavio's down to his last 2 Pokemon, the Porygon Z hasn't really been damaged here. It's only taken its Life Orb chip as recoil, so still in a pretty reasonable position. Politoed could also have access to Helping Hands, so we see that quite commonly on the Politoed. We saw how effective that was with the Clefairy. It was able to pick up the KOs on the Arcanine even through the Light Screen. That would still have the same effect if the Porygon Z was snarled. That Helping Hand would be able to counteract that and still be able to pick up the KO on the Arcanine.
Ooh, but talking about Arcanine, we're actually going to see it switch out now for that, I was going to say Gorilla, for that Rillaboom, as we see, being able to set that grassy terrain going, maybe wanting to show how much of a threat it is against that Politoed and have fake out pressure the following turn, as we do see that Helping Hand come out from the Politoed, trying to assist that Porygon Z, which doesn't get snarled this time round. Oh, but doesn't actually go for the Togekiss. It wanted to get rid of that Arcanine. There's a critical hit as well, but trust me, I don't think that mattered at this point, given the huge amount of damage output coming out from that Porygon Z. It is able to get rid of that Rillaboom. And we do see the Max Flare actually from the Togekiss into the Porygon Z slot, wanting to change the weather and not allow Flavio to be able to maybe KO the Arcanine with the Scold or Hydro Pump coming out from the Politoed. So Adam trying to control the board as best as he can right now.
The Max Flare is also going to be increasing the damage output from the Arcanine as well. So going to be able to do some pretty good damage to the Porygon Z with any of its fire moves. And still got one more turn of the Dynamax though on the Porygon Z side, and Togekiss has used up all of its turns. It can go back to redirecting with a Follow Me, but then if the Togekiss goes down here, how does the Arcanine take care of a Politoed? Even if it is in the sun, the Politoed is still going to be able to chip away at the Arcanine pretty well. And the Porygon Z would be able to reduce the speed one more time with another Max Strike as well. Arcanine probably still going to be outspeeding the Porygon Z this turn, but the fact that it's still got one more turn of Dynamax means it would be able to shrug off any fire move that the Arcanine wants to go for, even in the sun. And if it goes for a Snarl, it's just not doing any damage this turn. It's going to be reducing the damage output of the Porygon Z and the Politoed. But then the Porygon Z would still be able to pick up the knockout on any of the Pokemon, really, with the helping hands that the Politoed could also go for. So it's still quite an awkward position for Adam.
Definitely, that's very true, and we are going to be seeing the Follow Me come out from Adam's Togekiss right there as the Heat Wave, the Flamethrower from what it seemed, pardon me, my tongue's not 100%, that Flare Blitz being able to deal huge amounts of damage onto the Porygon Z, not being able to pick up, of course, any KO whatsoever, as the Max Strike will be able to pick up the Togekiss KO, being able to allow the Politoed to move immediately after with the Icy Wind, which actually misses from what it seems. So Flavio wanting to further control the speed, maybe allow the Politoed to move first ahead of the Arcanine, but failing to do so.
It doesn't really matter too much about that Icy Wind drop though, because it did get the drop from the Max Strike instead, and still should be putting the Porygon Z faster than the Arcanine. Maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity because that Icy Wind did miss. Maybe if the Arcanine would have gone for that Bulldoze on the previous turn, the Porygon Z would have still been under speeding and then would have been in range of that Flare Blitz. We saw how much damage it did in the sun to the Porygon Z. It would have been put in range of that attack. But then you would have had to deal with the Protect and Icy Wind play that could have come out from the Politoed as well. But we are just going to be seeing that Protect come out from the Porygon Z.
Yeah, Porygon Z going for that Protect, not wanting to risk it as Wild Charge comes out. Arcanine does have a way to target that Politoed. It does, of course, succumb to more recoil damage as the Hydro Pump does come out, does land, but doesn't deal as much damage as you would initially expect, given the fact that the sun is still up, and we are going to be seeing the speed interactions with that Grass Terrain recovery, confirming that the Arcanine is still a tiny bit faster than the Politoed.
Yeah, so being able to hit the Politoed meant that it could have actually been able to win in this endgame, but really the Porygon Z just needs to be able to hit that Hyper Beam. Even in the sun, the Skull's not doing too much damage to the Arcanine, but Wild Charge was doing significant damage. Maybe if the Arcanine would have gone for that Bulldoze, it would have actually been able to pull this off, but now it needs to dodge this Hyper Beam, which it is not able to do.
It's not able to do, and officially one of the most coolest animations of battle moves has come out and given Flavio that chance that he wanted to try to push for a Game 3 from that destructive Hyper Beam off of the Porygon Z. I feel like it... What do you think, Jamie? Do you think that Arcanine could actually be a Salt Fest, given the fact that we've seen Wild Charge, Flare Blitz, and Bulldoze, and that Hydro Pump didn't do as much damage? I know it's in the sun, but you would expect a tiny bit more given, unless it's a super bulky Arcanine.
Bulldoze usually does indicate Assault Vest on the Arcanine. You don't tend to find room for it normally, unless you're not going for those supportive moves like the Will-O-Wisp and the Snarl. So if it does have access to that Assault Vest, it still could have Snarl on its move pool as well. We have seen 3 of its moves now, so we'll have to see if that's going to be something like Extreme Speed as well. Maybe that's what the Porygon Z was fearing when it went for that Protect. But you saw the benefit of not bringing the Clefairy that time. That means that Flavio still had 2 Pokemon attacking on his side of the field. Rather than just going for the Helping Hand with Clefairy, he still had access to that when he had the Politoed on the field. But then that's a Pokemon that can still do some sorts of damage, as we saw. Even when the Icy Wind missed, it didn't really matter too much because the Max Strike had already put the Arcanine slower. But yeah, now it's Adam's turn to adapt to this. The Duraludon definitely not as effective in this game as it was the previous game. Just being able to be taken out by 2 Wicked Blows. And Togekiss probably not the best choice of Dynamax in that game. We've seen all of its moves now. It doesn't have Air Slash, so wouldn't be able to boost its speed with the Max Airstream. So and also a very supportive one with the Babiri Berry as well, and also being able to survive the Max Strike from being able to hit KO it when it's in its Dynamax form. So that means it would be able to survive in its regular form as well. That means it's just going to be a very, very bulky Togekiss and not very offensive. So it was quite an interesting choice to go with the Dynamax on the Togekiss that time. But I think I'd like to see a Dynamax, different Dynamax come out from Adam's side in this game 3.
I feel like it was a bit of a bluff, don't you think, where he led with the Duraludon and the Togekiss. Obviously, it could have not been a bluff, and maybe his intention was to go for the Duraludon, but he adapted given the board position of Flavio's Pokemon. So maybe he was thinking, I'm going to try to Dynamax the Togekiss, go and try to catch Flavio off guard. And since I know that my Togekiss is very bulky, it will be able to last for quite a few turns. Maybe that was a strategy going behind Adam's plan in game 2, but we're gonna find out what he's gonna go for in game 3, if he has changed it up like you said, Jamie, and what kind of adaptations he has made. And we are gonna be seeing that Duraludon come out. So Adam reverting to the game 1 lead that he had initially gone for, the Duraludon and Grimmsnarl, whilst we're gonna be seeing Flavio stick with his game 2 lead in the form of that Corviknight and the single strike Urshifu.
It did seem to be very effective for him in game 2, so not too many reasons to switch it out for Flavio's side. But going back to the original lead that Adam was successful with in the first game, this probably indicates that Duraludon is the Pokemon that he wants to be going for the Dynamax with. But the Grimmsnarl, if it wants to set up those screens, the Urshifu won't care about that with its Wicked Blow. It would just be able to critical hit straight through a Reflect that could come out from the Grimmsnarl. We haven't seen any of the other supportive moves come out from the Grimmsnarl, whether it's carrying something like that Thunder Wave. That wouldn't even be able to affect the Urshifu thanks to its Dark typing. So it would be able to just fire off a Wicked Blow into the Duraludon very freely this turn. It still has to fear something like a Spirit Break or a Play Rough coming out from the Grimmsnarl, but it's not actually going to be Dynamaxing the Duraludon this turn. It's just going to be switching straight out into that Togekiss.
So maybe anticipating that Wicked Blow, we are going to be seeing the Togekiss come in. There's no Dynamaxes from either side of the trainer's field, as we're going to be seeing the Wicked Blow does go into that Togekiss, hoping to get as much damage as it can onto that Duraludon. And we're going to see a taunt from the Corviknight into the Grimmsnarl. The Grimmsnarl's just going to attack this turn, as we didn't see the Prankster take advantage in use in the previous turn. We see that Spirit Break move coming out from the Grimmsnarl, bringing that Urshifu down to its 1 HP thanks to the Focus Sash, and of course does drop its special attack, which in this point does not matter.
The Urshifu's the best way that Flavio has of breaking through that Duraludon. Now it's down to 1 HP. Any move's going to be able to KO it. The Grimmsnarl being taunted now means that it would have to just go for another Spirit Break. That would be enough to KO the Urshifu. But no screen's going to be coming out to protect the Togekiss from any Iron Heads that's coming out from the Corviknight. But thanks to that Babiri Berry, looks like it probably would be able to survive an Iron Head and another Wicked Blow coming out from the Urshifu. So would be able to finish off the Urshifu with a Dazzling Gleam or even a Heat Wave if he wants to hit the Corviknight for super effective damage as well. The Grimmsnarl may want to switch out here to be able to reset its taunt and set up the screens in the future, and that looks like what we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah, well said, Jamie. We're going to be seeing the Arcanine switch in now for that Grimmsnarl to be able to use its status moves later on in this game, as we do see the interaction between Intimidate and Mirror Armor there, reflecting the Intimidate back onto the Arcanine, at least from the Corviknight's perspective, bringing that Arcanine down to -1, as the Togekiss is going to go for that Protect, and there's going to be a close combat this time around from the Urshifu into that Arcanine slot, being able to bring it down to half of its HP, dealing huge amounts of damage, as the Iron Head double up will be coming out from the Corviknight and doing that tiny bit more of damage. And so far we haven't seen a Citrus Berry, which is one of the common items of choice for the Arcanine, so it's that bit closer to confirming it's an Assault Vest.
We'll have to see if it is carrying that extreme speed, if it is that Assault Vest variety as well. A little bit of a missed opportunity for the Togekiss. No attacks went into it this turn. Probably able to survive a double up of an Iron Head and Wicked Blow. And if he would have just gone for the Dazzling Gleam or the Heat Wave there, Urshifu would have been KO'd, and that is the biggest threat to the Duraludon waiting in the back. So Flavio, if he manages to keep that Urshifu safe, it would still be able to get a close combat into that Duraludon at some point. So definitely needs to be keeping it safe here, but it won't be safe from this extreme speed that is actually coming out from the Arcanine.
There it is, confirmed. Extreme Speed does come up from the Arcanine, picks up the K on the Urshifu as the Corviknight decides to go for a Tailwind, trying to get that advantage with regards to speed against Adam, as the Heat Wave single target is going to come out and deal so much damage onto that Corviknight, but not quite as much as it would have liked to pick up a KO, as we are seeing the Porygon Z now that is not going to be stopped and outsped at least for another 3 turns, to say the least. Come onto the field and maybe try to take advantage of that Dynamax.
Very good reveal of the extreme speed there. The Urshifu has now been taken care of. With the Porygon Z coming in here means that it will be able to once again fire off its huge max strikes. Adam needs to find a way to now get his Duraludon back onto the field. Whether he is able to activate that weakness policy once again with the Arcanine, probably won't be able to, thanks to that Arcanine taking so much damage already. The Grimmsnarl is still waiting in the back. It would be able to set up another light screen for the Duraludon, and so he just needs to probably let his Arcanine go down here. He still has access to the Protect on the Togekiss as well. The Arcanine goes down, Duraludon would be able to come in for free with Redirection next to it.
Yeah, 100%. And we're actually going to see the Dynamax going ahead and being used on Flavio's side. It is looking like it, of course, will be that Porygon Z to take the utmost advantage of this mechanic that we have been seeing dominating throughout VGC 2020 ever since January. It is going to be going ahead and more than likely for that Max Strike. But before that, we're going to see the Togekiss go for that Protect, being able to actually get it off as the Extreme Speed comes out into the Porygon Z slot, maybe anticipating it to be going down this turn and wanting to guarantee a bit more of damage onto it, but it doesn't even get targeted, as we see the Togekiss does instead. Flavio wanting to get rid of that Redirection, but is met with a Protect, dealing a bit of damage, not as much as it would have initially liked, as we are going to see actually the Brave Bird coming out from the Corviknight into the Arcanine slot, being enough to pick up the KO as well. Remember that Corviknight is not at -1 with regards to its attack, thanks to that Mirror Armor ability that it has.
Now Adam has the choice of whether he brings in that Grimmsnarl to be able to set up the light screens ready for the future turns, or if he just wants to bring in that Duraludon, which is almost certainly going to be the Pokemon that he is Dynamaxing this game, and just start going on the offensive. The Togekiss did just Protect, so it would still be on the field to redirect any moves away from the Duraludon or the Grimmsnarl. But it does look like it's going to be that Duraludon coming in for Adam, so wanting to just go on the offensive, make use of the Redirection while it can, so that the Porygon Z would be targeting the Togekiss instead of the Duraludon this turn. And we saw how much damage the Duraludon did to the Corviknight in the previous game. Even without the weakness policy, would probably be able to pick up the knockout on the Corviknight as well. And if it went for the Max Darkness to be able to pick up that knockout, the Porygon Z would lose some of its special defense as well, and maybe be put in range of another max move that the Duraludon would want to go for. It's already used 1 turn of its Dynamax here, so Duraludon will have 1 extra turn of Dynamax against the Porygon Z. And then it will come down to what the last Pokemon is for Flavio's side of the field. If it is that Politoed, it's not going to be threatening too much damage to the Duraludon as well. And you still got the Grimmsnarl waiting in the back, ready to set up that light screen once again.
But the Togekiss this turn around is going to be switching out now for the Grimmsnarl once again to come back onto the field, as we are going to be seeing the Dynamax from Adam's side. He will be trying to take advantage and Dynamax that Duraludon, and hopefully maybe get a screens up in the following turn if his Grimmsnarl does survive this turn, of course. And yeah, we are going to see the Dynamax go up from the Duraludon, just wanting to be able to, first of all, not get KO'd straight away, and second of all, try to deal as much damage or get him into a better situation, as we are going to be seeing that Max Strike. It does come out, it does actually go into the Grimmsnarl slot, so Flavio, just wanting to be safe and maybe anticipate any switch outs whatsoever, goes for that slot, picks up the KO on the Grimmsnarl, which is not going to be able to get any screens for the rest of this set, as we are going to be seeing the Iron Head come out from the Corviknight into the resisting Duraludon, and not being able to deal as much damage, obviously, as I would have liked, but it is actually taken down to this Max Wormwind from that Duraludon, so being able to position it himself a bit better in that situation, at least from Flavio's side, he's able to take advantage, but Adam does have that Redirection, though.
Prioritizing the Redirection instead of the light screens here for Adam's side. This also resets the Protect on the Togekiss as well, so it would be able to go for a Protect, especially from the fake out that could come out from the Rillaboom that has just joined the field for Flavio's side. So not that Politoed this time. and still a Pokemon that won't really threaten down that Duraludon unless it is carrying that coverage in that high horsepower. And if it isn't, this Duraludon is actually looking in a very strong position. It's still paired with the redirection with the Togekiss, but it would be able to just go for that protect, stall out the final turn of the Dynamax on the Porygon Z side, and then the Duraludon will still have one more turn of its own Dynamax to be able to fire off a big max move once the Porygon Z has lost its Dynamax. He opted for the Max Wormwind instead to KO the Corviknight. If it went for the Max Steel Spike, it would have raised its defenses to be able to deal with this Rillaboom a little bit better. Also, the Max Darkness would have been able to reduce the special defense further of the Porygon Z, so it would have definitely been range of any attack that the Duraludon would have wanted to go for once the Dynamax had dropped on the Porygon Z side of the field. But I wouldn't be surprised to just see a Protect come out from this Togekiss.
Just like you said, Jamie, that Togekiss does opt for that Protect play, not wanting to get faked out, as we do see a Max Guard as well from that Duraludon, not wanting to suffer from a fake out and then full Dynamax move attack onto itself. So just wanting to control the tempo of it and maybe waste that Porygon Z's Dynamax in the following turn as well.
Yeah, very good Max Guard there. So the Max Strike would have gone into that Duraludon thanks to the Fake Out stopping any full enemies coming up from the Togekiss. And because we know that this isn't the Assault Vest on the Duraludon, it would have still done very, very good damage to the Duraludon thanks to it having such low base special defense. And now the Dynamax on the Porygon Z has been wasted. The Porygon Z would be completely open now to a max move coming out from the Duraludon. The Togekiss is still on the field to be able to redirect any moves coming out from the Porygon Z. Whether that would need to be a Hyper Beam to KO the Togekiss, or if the Porygon Z has any coverage to be able to hit that Togekiss without the need for recharging as well. But the Duraludon here is looking in a very, very strong position now. It's still got one more turn of Dynamax against this Porygon Z.
And Porygon Z, recognizing that, does go for that Protect, not wanting to get taken down by any moves, as the Follow Me does come out from the Togekiss. This might be a Max Wormwind coming out, maybe to drop the attack on the Rillaboom. But before that, we're going to see the Wood Hammer dealing huge amounts of damage onto that Togekiss, just slightly missing out from picking up a KO, as the Max Wormwind is confirmed to be coming out, hoping to pick up that KO, that very crucial KO, onto the Porygon Z, but well protected from Flavio there, recognizing that possibility and just wanting to try to control whatever he can from his end to guarantee him the win and this set.
No, it's going to be so close if that Togekiss is going to be in Grassy Glide range, thanks to that Max Wormwind drop as well. Togekiss isn't on the ground, so it's not able to get access to that recovery from the grassy terrain. It is put very low. And if the Grassy Glide is now able to take the knockout on that Togekiss, that means that the Porygon Z would be able to fire off one more Hyper Beam into this Duraludon that has now lost its Dynamax, and Porygon Z is going to be so strong, it will just be able to do a huge amount of damage to the Duraludon, even with the resisted hit in the Hyper Beam, which is as strong as its Max Strikes that it goes for in its Dynamax form. So very nicely played on Flavio's side of the field. It just depends on whether that Togekiss is able to survive that Grassy Glide or not.
Ooh, and the Protect comes out from the Togekiss, wanting to try to allow itself to survive from that Grassy Glide, which it definitely does this turn around, but Hyper Beam does come out. Is it enough to pick up the KO on this Duraludon is the real question going through all of our minds right now, and it is, ladies and gents. This will more than likely be giving the game and the set to Flavio del Pidio. Ladies and gents, what an insane turn of events.
You can just see how strong that Porygon Z is. You get to click that move 3 times without recharging, and then you get to click it for a 4th time.
Yep.
Able to take out a Pokemon that is resisting it. Even though the special defense is so low on the Duraludon, you can just see how strong that Porygon Z is. And now the Porygon Z will have to take a recharge turn, but Rillaboom will be able to pick up the knockout on this Togekiss with the Wood Hammer and be able to take the game for Flavio and Italy.
Wow, what an explosive endgame that we all witnessed right there. I mean, that is quite insane given how it all played out, of course, too. Whoops, I tried to hurry up and get the super outro. But yes, so, point being that it was... What a game. What an absolute game. It just shows the level of performance from both of these players, being able to just, when it matters, they're able to play so well and understand the board position at all times. I think that is something that you always have to recognize as a trainer going into tournaments, in real life tournaments or online. You have to be aware of what your opponent can benefit from, what you can benefit from, and kind of read through the lines there, because honestly, that could have gone either way. The win genuinely could have gone either way. It's just Flavio was able to pull that tiny bit further and get that win for Italy.
Yeah, you can see he defaulted to that Porygon Z and Clefairy lead that is so common when you are using that Porygon Z team. But then the Duraludon was just able to shut that down completely, and the weakness policy as well on the Duraludon being really, really beneficial for Adam's side of the field. And then the Flavio didn't really have anything for that, and it shows that he was able to adapt very well, leaving the Porygon Z in the back. It shows that you don't need to always be leading with your Porygon Z and immediately Dynamaxing with the Max Strikes. If you hold off on that Dynamax, it can be just as effective, and even more effective here, as it showed in this game 2 and 3.
Yeah, 100%, because just being able to recognize when to go for that Dynamax is very crucial. And like you said, Jamie, I think that Flavio being able to recognize that, first of all, he wants to guarantee that A, his Porygon Z is going to be faster when it Dynamaxes, and B, it can deal as much damage as it can onto a more weakened team. So we saw that the Corviknight did go for that Tailwind in game 3, as we saw in a previous game, but it was able to allow that Porygon to just come in and try to start getting that pressure, because Max Strike, it's not only boosted by Porygon Z's normally good amount of special attack stats, it goes and gets boosted by that adaptability, ability that it does have, and then by the Life Orb, and then by just being able to just click 3 Hyper Beams, like you said, Jamie, which just deals so much damage, and then you've got the speed reduction. So try to stop it. If you don't have a solid answer, it will be a tough time, I tell you.
You can see why Flavio has been using Porygon Z consistently throughout this European Cup as well. Being able